Not just India, Europe also had elections this week, and I must say equally riveting. Like countries, the European Union also has a parliament, and this parliament, the EU parliament, has 720 members in all. They're elected for 5 years. So who won this time? Well, it's not really a question of who won, it's more about who made gains. And the answer is the European far right. There are broadly two ideologies in Europe's parliament. One is pro-EU, the other is anti-EU, or Eurosceptics as they're called. Now, the far right belongs to the second group. They are Eurosceptics. These are nationalist parties across the continent, and some of their policies are common, like less control from the European Union, less support for Ukraine, less investment in climate change, and a crackdown on migration. Broadly, this was their campaign plank, and it has found takers. Look at the projected results of the EU Parliament. The ECR is winning 73 seats. That's the European Conservatives and Reformists, ECR. It's a bloc led by Giorgia Meloni, the Italian Prime Minister. They had won 69 seats in the last election. This time they're at 73. So Meloni is the star of this election. She may not have won a majority, but she's clearly the kingmaker. Another conservative bloc is Identity and Democracy. They had 49 seats in the last election. This time, they have 58. So the Eurosceptics are now a powerful group in parliament, which brings us to the other side, the pro-Europe parties. The Green Party has lost 20 seats. Emmanuel Macron's party has lost 20 seats. Meanwhile, the left and socialists remain unchanged. Also the same result, almost the same result as the last time for the left and the socialists. So who is forming the government? It's the centrists again. The biggest group in the EU Parliament is the EPP, the European People's Party. It is led by Ursula von der Leyen. It's a pro-European party, so it looks like she will stay on as the EU president. So let's recap now. The far right has made major gains. Von der Leyen has held on, and the left has also held on. So who has lost? Who is the big loser? Emmanuel Macron and Olaf Scholz, the leaders of France and Germany. Both their parties did pretty badly. Macron's Renew party was beaten in France. So guess what? He's calling for snap elections.
After having proceeded with the consultations as provided in the Article 12 of our Constitution, I decided to give back to you the choice for the future of our Parliament with a vote. And so, I am dissolving tonight our National Assembly. At the end of this day, I cannot pretend as if nothing happened. To add to this situation is a fever that has reached public and parliamentary debate in recent years in our country, a disorder that, I know, worries you, sometimes shocks you, and to which I do not plan to give in.
It's a huge political gamble. He's dissolved the parliament. This is a snap election, so there are no opinion polls. For all we know, Macron's party could lose. The Eurosceptics may get a majority in the French parliament. And what happens then? Macron will be forced to pick a prime minister from the right wing, which means deadlock. Macron will still control France's foreign policy. He will remain the president, but he won't control domestic policy. In other words, he could be a lame duck president. Same for Germany. Chancellor Olaf Scholz, his party polled 14% of the vote. The centre-right Christian Democrats got 30% and the far-right got 16%. They beat Olaf Scholz's party. Naturally, questions are being asked. Scholz himself led the campaign in Germany, yet his party was routed. So will his coalition continue to remain in power? Or could Germany go the French way? That is the big question at this point. In Belgium, the Prime Minister has already resigned, a liberal leader called Alexander De Croo. His coalition was routed in the European election. The right and far right made significant gains. So De Croo is stepping aside. All of this is very significant for Europe. France and Germany have been the natural leaders of the European Union, yet both governments were rejected. So Macron and Scholz are on shaky ground. At the same time, Giorgia Meloni is making huge strides. She's establishing herself as a prominent figure in Brussels, maybe even a natural leader.
I take it as the message of those who want to say keep going and do it if possible with greater determination. a signal that I understand, a signal that I am ready to welcome, and I am proud that this nation presents itself at the G7 in Europe with the strongest government of all. This is something that has not happened in the past, that is happening today. It is a satisfaction and also a great responsibility.
Where does this leave the EU president? In all likelihood, she will retain her position. But the question is, who will she work with? Will she reach out to work with the Eurosceptics, or will she stick to liberal allies? Well, Ursula von der Leyen has made her position clear. Pro-Europe is the way to go, she says.
We may differ on individual points, but we all have an interest in stability, and we all want a strong and effective Europe. So throughout my campaign, I've been working hard to build a broad and effective majority of pro-European forces.
It's easier said than done. The far right has a lot of political power now. Expect them to play a key role in policy making in Europe.
Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global south. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost.
From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
We're beating Biden.
How dare he say that?
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America.